So, decided to dive into the I-270. It's a very lovely, simple aircraft. So the construction, straightforward. Cockpit, the dials done with Flory Pro Modeler whitewash. Seatbelts added. A little bit tidying up here, there, a little bit of work on the seat itself. Weights made from air rifle pellets that were squashed and then cut in two and held in place with Milliput and some super glue. So the halves, yeah, a little bit, should go together without too much difficulty. Something I did here as well was I pre-drilled a hole for the aerial up there because of all the headaches I have with fitting these. So this is a technique I may use earlier on, using a file just to create a notch for the aerials so I can hang them there. It's always been to make such a mess of it on the actual fuselage, on the actual tails. Just a different approach there. So this fuselage half is going to go together. I think there's going to be more than enough nose weight in here for such a tiny aircraft. A couple of pellets in the front as well, just for good measure. Again, nice, simple, basic. It was a basic aircraft to say the least anyway. It's going together reasonably well. So this is the start point on this, and about to close things up. So, progress with the MiG I-270 is together. I'm really making this a bit of a speed build. I sometimes spend many weeks on a model. Try and do a model a month, but even a simple bird can, in my mind, sometimes take me way too long. So this is about as simple as it gets as an aircraft. Even the real one, as you can see, was not exactly the most proliferous. How can I describe it? There wasn't much to the real aircraft either, and I think it's very much reflected in the model. So, filling done, fair bit of sanding, some rescribing. I'm going to put on the grey base ahead of the black base. The grey base will be to reveal, do any of the seams need rework. Personally, I really like the lines of this aircraft. Simplicity, cleanness, irrespective of how successful it was, that isn't the issue. It just looks nice. And if the Bell X1 hadn't claimed, being the first aircraft to go supersonic, you can probably see that and imagine that an aircraft like this would be a suitable contender. Anyway, quick update on the progress. About to hit it with some paint, and this is really going that this has to be, it's Friday today. I should be doing other things. I really should be working on the freaking book. But somehow, for whatever reason, I seem to be, at this time of lockdown, this is just ticking my boxes, and so I'm building it for that reason. So about to hit it with some spray, and we'll go from there. So, quick update. After a cycle of filling, sanding, some rescribing, sanding and respraying a number of times, using the spraying to help reveal the details, I'm now at a level where I'm going to apply the black base ahead of applying the metallic coats. So this has been done in XF53 neutral grey. That's what I've used as my basic colour for the work and the rework, principally because it's a white plastic. So need something that was a good contrast to that. Happy with the way it's going. one thing I have to remember is to, if I'm using Mr. Surfacer, is to give it plenty of time to dry. I made a mistake of sometimes with that stuff, just not giving it enough time. Particularly a small build like that, I've done all the detail bits. They're all ready to go, so it's a bit too easy to get a suffer slight impatience mode, which I really shouldn't do. So I need, that really has to be left for a while. The best thing I find is, when applying Mr. Surfacer, is to do it as one of the last things you do before you go to bed or you go to work, and then come back to it, because in that time it will have set. You just need to be able to leave it for a while. So that's where we are, about to apply X18 semi-gloss black, and then we'll work with the metallics. Right, this is it. Mostly painted, mostly decaled, not the fine decals yet. I'm just going to show the method I do. This method eliminates the need for putting washes on. So it's had a black base, it's then had a couple of coats of metallic. It was masked. I then put a slightly different shade of metallic along the leading edge, the flying surfaces. So pin in the pin vise, and I just follow the panel lines. Don't apply any pressure. You can immediately see that you're getting panel lines but without the need for applying a panel line wash. Practically no force. Almost the weight of the tool itself is all the force you need on this, and all it's doing is breaking the layer of silver paint, just going through to the Tamiya Black base. If you apply any force, you risk slipping. So the silver paint is by Vallejo. I tend to like putting Vallejo on a Tamiya base. I think the two work very well together. I used Tamiya semi-gloss black. See how the panel lines are just literally emerging with the bare minimum of effort. I would say about this gentle strokes. And you can see here on the wings, I'm going to have to put a little bit of tape or a guide or ruler just to take these out to the edge, but that's still going to be a lot easier than actually having to scribe it full force. You can see slight difference in shade. So this was the Vallejo Metalair and this was Vallejo Metallic, just to create that little offset of colour. Now, because I've decided to do this in its actual markings rather than any kind of whatever operational markings, I'm keeping it quite pure and clean. I'll probably put some differentiators on certain panels just to draw them out a little bit and do some light washes. But I'm going to try and keep this fairly clean. It's also had a couple of coats of Johnson's Klear before decaling and after decaling, just to help seal things up, provide a little bit of protection as well, keeping a nice clean shiny metallic. So if we carry on with this, you just feel all you're doing is breaking, and that's just like what happens if you slip. Now, the trouble with the slips is very difficult to recover from. That is the main disadvantage with this method. But I'm going to put a tiny touch of silver paint on there to try to recover. And along the hinge lines, maybe a little bit more force. But still, all you're trying to do is break through to the underlying base colour. I think you guys can see. Oops. How this method works. I must admit, I think it has its place, and the advantage is now I've actually cut through these decals. As well as using microsol on them. I think it's important to make sure that decals don't bridge or form a bridge over panels. So you should cut them there we go. So that shows that particular method. I say it's not for every project. Certainly isn't for that, but it does have its place. So here we have it. This is the complete MiG I-270, the Russian development of the Me-163 Comet, very much in the mould of the proposed Me-263 and 363. Actually, a lovely little kit. This is an A model kit, and it just builds up into a really sweet little aeroplane, I think. Really enjoyed this. I built this as a speed build because I just felt so the MiG-9 really just became a bit of a grind to do, and this is, you know, building an A model kit. Okay, one of the simplest ones out there, quicker than somebody would build an airfix kit, and I absolutely loved it. So its main paint was the Vallejo Aluminium, Metalair, and the Vallejo Modelair Aluminium. and then a little bit of Games Workshop gunmetal in a few places. Happier now with the rigging, with the aerial line. Early on I used a file to create a hole in the vertical fin and then open that out with a drill, so that's had somewhere proper to go. I'm far happy with that. I'll have to do that, remember to do that in future builds, is to create the start of the hole for the aerial wire in the rudder. Happier with the post as well. I should have done a second wire coming down. Few issues. The nose decals aren't actually correct. If you look at the photos, they go much further forward, but in the instructions they are set much further back, and I printed to that, so I went by the instructions and then looked at it. The kit makes no mention of the pitot, but in the reference photos there is a pitot tube. I took a bit of a guess on the indicator lights on the wingtips. The rest of it is a very basic aircraft, but it's fun to do. I think it really opens itself up to what ifs. I mean, you could take this kit and do it in German markings as a development of the 163 Comet. You could do it in Russian operational markings with the bought number on the side. Bearing in mind only 2 of these aircraft were built. Both crashed, fairly unsurprisingly. I just think you can have fun with this. I mean, if you really wanted to go bonkers, you could give it folding wings, a tail hook, and have it as a point defense fighter for a German aircraft carrier. Or even have it with bombs hanging underneath as a U-boat launched one-way weapon. Yeah, that would be probably going a little bit more off the top. But then again, why not even put it in Japanese markings as a successor to the Oka? Just one of those aircraft that you can, with a little bit of imagination, I mean not much imagination at all, you can have some real fun with this. I built it as per the markings for the first of the 2 aircraft built, hence those markings, and I'm happy with how it's come out. MiG I-270 by Amodel. Actually, great little kit. If you spot this one, if you find it on hand, just buy it. You'll have fun with it. It's a chill out build, and with a bit of work you get, I think, a very nice little jet that certainly has its place in history.